League of Women Voters debate. We are live.
Good evening. The League of Women Voters of the Hamptons, Shelter Island, and the North Fork is pleased to be sponsoring this evening's debate for the candidates for East Hampton Town Board. The debate this evening will be among Ian Calder-Piedmonte, J.P. Foster, and Cate Rogers, the candidates running for East Hampton Town Board. I'm Terry Wildrick, co-president of the League of Women Voters of the Hamptons, Shelter Island, and the North Fork, and I will be moderating this debate. The other member of the League, whom you will see on screen, is Eileen Mercer, who will be our timer. Others in the League involved with bringing you this debate are Arlene Hinkmeyer, who's our co-president and publicity chairperson, and served as liaison with LTV. Kathleen Mulcahy, who is the shadow and backup for this debate, and Alicia Sullivan, who's our East Hampton debate coordinator. Our thanks go to all who contributed questions for the debate, and a very special thanks to the staff of LTV, whose technical support has made it possible to view this debate on YouTube. We also thank the candidates, and we thank you for watching. Just a quick word about who we are. The League of Women Voters is a political but nonpartisan or national organization. While we never endorse parties or candidates, we are involved in the many issues affecting our community. Foremost among our goals is to educate voters, stimulate voter interest, and encourage voter participation. We're respected for sponsoring fair and impartial candidate debates such as this one, and for the educational materials we distribute on voting issues. Now, to move on to the ground rules for the debate, since we don't have a live audience before us, the questions were all submitted in advance by the community and League members and have been vetted to ensure that they're appropriate for this debate. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, up to 1.5 minutes to respond to each question, and 1 minute for a closing statement. In addition, each candidate will have the opportunity for 3 one-minute rebuttals to their opponent's responses. The candidates will speak in alphabetical order, and Ian Calder-Piedmonte will give his opening statement first. He will also answer the first question first, after which the first response to each question will be rotated among the candidates. Regardless of where we are in the rotation, Cate Rogers will give her closing statement first. The candidates will now give their opening statements. So, Ian.
Hi, my name is Ian Calder-Piedmonte. I'm running for re-election to the East Hampton Town Board on the Democratic and Working Families lines. And I'm running, quite frankly, because I love this job. I love this town. I love this community. I first came to East Hampton as a farmer and fell in love with East Hampton through the farm work itself, and came to know the agricultural community, and later obviously appreciated the natural beauty and all that East Hampton has to offer. But very quickly realized that the community itself is the best thing about East Hampton. Through my work as a farmer, I became active in the community and had the opportunity 14 years ago to join the planning board when I was first appointed. I didn't know much about planning at that time, to be honest with you, but I liked the work very, very much and was grateful to have the opportunity to be reappointed 2 more times. So 3 separate town boards appointed me to the planning board. I served a total of 12 years, several of which I was vice chair. And that led to the opportunity in January of 2024 to join the town board, which I eagerly did, and have loved this work and the service just as much. I think as a town board member, as a town board, our main job is to protect East Hampton, the beauty, the natural resources, the environment, the character, and all that East Hampton has to offer. I think equally important, though, is to protect the community itself and to make sure that we keep East Hampton livable and affordable. I think my business experience and my public service experience puts me in a very good place to do just that. Affordable housing is the #1 issue that we face. And through my time in the town board, I've had the opportunity to be the liaison to the housing department, have passed legislation, introduced further legislation, and look forward to continue that work if I'm reelected. If I'm reelected, I'll promise to serve with an open mind, to always listen and to work hard every day on behalf of the town and the people of East Hampton. I'd be honored to have your vote and grateful for the opportunity to continue to serve.
Thank you. JP?
Hi, my name is JP Foster. For those of you that don't know me, um, my family dates back between 350 and 400 years on the East End, between East Hampton and Southampton. I just retired from the village of East Hampton after serving for just over 35 years, managing the 911 system and the dispatch center for East Hampton Village, which does encompass the entire town, or does at the moment. And it did under my tenure. I was chief for 8 years. And I serve on the school board. I've been the president for the past 12 years, in my 13th year as a member. I think that I've proven that I'm able to lead. I have a lot of experience, a lot of budgeting experience. Our employee count is around 375 employees. Our budget, I think this past year, was 88 million. Not quite as much as the towns, but pretty close. We both have different needs. I think that one of the basics functions of town government is to keep it moving, to keep the offices open, keep our community running. Our people are very important. I would like to see, I know this board has worked hard on affordable housing, and I think that's something that's very difficult to do, and everyone will tell you how wonderful they are at doing it, but it's very, very difficult to do. I'd like to see some priority put on volunteers, whether it be fire or EMS, getting priority. Other towns have done it. I'd like to see us put a priority on that. I think it's something that's important to our community to keep it also moving. I think that, I've got the experience. You can look at my record. I have a almost 13-year record. It's all on YouTube, LTV channel. You can watch it for hours to see how I deal with people. You can see my track record, and I think my record speaks for myself. I'm very proud of it. My goal is to leave a place better than I found it. And I think that when I do exit the school board, I can proudly say that I did. I want to bring those skills to the town board, and I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Cate?
Yes, thank you so much, Therese, and to the League of Women Voters for hosting. Again, my name is Cate Rogers, and I'm running for re-election to the East Hampton Town Board. I'd like to tell you about myself. I grew up on the Bay in Massapequa. I graduated from Dowling College, and I worked for over 20 years in my family's business running the Long Island Arena in Comac. After spending so many summers here in my childhood with my family, I moved to East Hampton in 2002. And that was because as a small child, I fell in love with everything about East Hampton, from the shops to the people to our beautiful beaches and our natural resources. My son went to middle school and high school here, and my commitment to community service led me to serve as the vice chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals for a total of 9 years. After completing former Vice President Al Gore's climate leadership training, I took on further responsibilities within the community. I served on many town committees, the Energy Sustainability Committee, Spring CAC, the Nature Preserve Committee, and Emergency Preparedness. I was honored to be nominated by the Democratic and Working Families parties to run for council member. And growing up here on Long Island and here, I've witnessed firsthand the impacts of the climate crisis and the loss of community, and because of the rising costs of our homes. In response, I've taken leadership roles in dune reconstruction, successfully securing $600,000 state grant to enhance the town's resiliency recovery efforts and many resiliency projects. My work also includes expanding affordable housing opportunities, amended outdated zoning codes, and diverting 23,000 pounds of food scraps from the waste stream. In my second term, there are projects I'd like to focus on. I'll talk more about that later, and continue to lead with transparency, collaboration, and respect. Thank you.
Thank you. And now for the first question, and Ian will go first. After years of controversy, residents are still confused about the future of the town of East Hampton Airport, which is currently mired in lawsuits. How do you feel the board should settle the dispute over the airport, and what, if any, restrictions would you like to see put on its operation?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's an important question. Obviously, there's litigation involved, and so I'm somewhat limited with what I can say. But I think the town's position of reasonable restrictions at the airport is the right position. I've spoken with homeowners in the area and around the airport, and I understand the noise and the quality of life issues that causes. And I've spoken with airport operators, pilots who agree that there should be reasonable restrictions. Unfortunately, this has been very litigious. I think this town board's position has been to talk and listen to everybody. I think that includes people who are affected by the noise and operators. So I believe that there should be reasonable restrictions. I will continue to move towards that end, both in court, but also I think by talking to people and trying to come up with reasonable compromises. I do think that there was a time at which there probably wasn't enough dialogue, and that's changing. I support the airport being open with reasonable restrictions to protect the neighborhoods.
Thank you. JP?
I also thank you for the question, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the League of Women Voters. I'm sorry I didn't thank you in my opening statement, and thank our hosts and the staff and LTV, of course, for putting this together. With the airport, I mean, with the fact that it is under litigation, I think that's going to tell us a lot of what we can do, what we can't do going forward. I do support the airport being open with restrictions as well. I think there's got to be a balance. I think we need the airport, but do we need everything we have currently? Well, that's the big question mark. I think we need to work with our community. We need to work with the neighbors. I personally never used to get a lot of airport traffic, in years past. In the last few, it's upticked in my neighborhood as well. And I think with the control tower that's changed the approaches, I think that's some smart, balance it out with the approaches. And I think we need to work together to come up with a solution that at least is palatable to everyone. And I would say talking to our community will let us get there.
Thank you. Cate?
Yes, thank you. As the liaison to Wainscott, this is a very important issue to the folks in Wainscott and across the town in general. We did extensive outreach and realized what came out of all that outreach and listening sessions was that the community wanted the airport open, but they wanted reasonable restrictions like curfews. People wanted to have peaceful night's sleep, and also to take a look at the impacts of the kind of Uber style helicopter flights that were happening back and forth and increasing in time. So we did put what I felt were reasonable restrictions. You mentioned litigation. It was unfortunate that some folks felt like they needed to block those reasonable restrictions, but we can still work forward either through sitting down with the litigants and coming to some kind of settlement or continuing on the path that we are. But having a safe, sensible airport is the goal for all of us.
Thank you. The next question, JP will go first. Since February, the town has lost 3 department heads and 2 town attorneys. To our knowledge, only one of those positions has been filled. There have also been resignations in the tax receiver's office. How do you account for turnover at town hall, and what do you feel should be done about it?
Well, I think that this is a major problem, and it goes back to my opening statement, and it goes to the function of government. We cannot have, the building department is a perfect example. It's a critical department within our town, and it affects everyone. Maybe not today, but it will affect them at some point. I think we need to figure out what the issue is and address it immediately. I mean, like I said in the beginning, we have 375 employees. We have several unions. We have civil service that we must deal with the same geographic location challenges as far as employees, either they're commuting or living here. But, I think if you look at some of the people that left the town, a fair amount of them already lived here. They had houses here. And why are people leaving? I think that has to be addressed. And I'm assuming the town board's probably having those conversations, amongst each other. And I hope they are. But I think my leadership, I think the goal is to make East Hampton a place where people are looking to land. They want to be here. You have to make it attractive. Pay is an issue. It's come up a little bit, but we still need to go further with the pay structure and the environment. The environment just has to change. I don't know. It's leadership, and it's just that simple. I really don't have much to add more than that, but I think the leadership needs to either change or get with the program. I don't know what to say.
Thank you. Cate?
Yes, so we have been taking considerable measures in the building department. If we're speaking particular about that department for 10 seconds, we have a new chief building inspector, plans examiners, we have new building inspectors themselves, and of course, we implemented the online permitting application program, OpenGov, to make things move faster. Yes, we are in talks of how to also increase efficiency in that department, but I want to talk about retention and retirements and resignations. You know, I think it's important to look at all other entities in the town and realize that this is happening across business sectors. I know it also is happening in the school district. I know, looking at the school district, they had 27 resignation retirements, somewhere in that number this year, which pretty much matched what we had. So this is something that's happening across the entire town. And I think Ian's focus on housing affordability is one of our biggest challenges. Also providing good transportation for people that are coming away. But I work in the town departments every day, and I know the town staff, that we've had people that have worked there for over 25, 30 years, multiple family members and generational family members. Town's a great place to work. The health insurance can't be beat, especially in today's times. And I just think it's kind of become part of a political narrative to say the town is falling apart.
Thank you. Ian?
Yeah, I mean, employee retention is a difficult thing in East Hampton due to the place we live. As a small business owner, I've experienced this, firsthand in the private sector as well. The town has unique challenges with civil service and affordability as well. But I want to focus on the positive. I want to acknowledge that there's more turnover than I would like, no question. I don't want to see turnover. I want to have long-standing employees. But go to the housing director who resigned last year. He moved out of town. And we actually acted pretty quickly to create a remote position to bring him back to the planning department where he previously served. We've since replaced that with a new housing director. The town attorney, we have a new town attorney and a deputy town attorney. Those positions have been replaced by very qualified people. The building department, Rich Normoyle just started as our principal building inspector. Would have liked to have had that happen sooner, but he brings over 30 years of experience in the private and public sector and has great ideas that he's bringing to that department. And as Cate mentioned, there's many other positions beneath him that are being staffed. The tax receiver's office, we hired a deputy tax receiver and another position, very, very qualified people. So again, I want to recognize that it's not ideal. I would like to see less turnover, but I don't believe that there's a toxic environment or a leadership problem. I'm proud of the steps we've taken, and I think that the results are going to be shown clearly in the coming days. I agree with JP about increasing pay, and our board has taken a very strong position on that, and we're doing it every year.
And can I just rebut quick? I just want to say it's not a political narrative when a whole department walks out. It's just not.
So the whole department didn't walk out?
Well, except for one person.
No, there were more people left in the department. We have to, deal with.
I'm talking about the tax receiver's office, office.
Eileen, are you timing?
That department. So, I mean, we've got several departments that have major issues. And listen, I'm not pointing the finger. Everybody that's here, okay, is here for the right reasons. I think everyone's doing their best. I'm not here to be adversarial by any sense. I'm just saying we have an issue. It needs to be addressed. And our town is suffering by not having it under control. It's something that needs to happen. And we need to take bolder, faster steps. I know it's civil service. I was a civil service employee. I've hired civil service employees, and at the school, we hire them as well. But you also have succession planning. You can't have one person that holds the purse string in a department and have no backup plan. It needs to be cultivated from within. When I ran for the school board, that was my goal. And I think that's to be gone by today. You have to have a plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Cate, the next question, you'll go first. Yesterday, the board agreed to make major changes in its plans for a senior center, which so far has cost $1.3 million and was at a standstill. The changes move the center away from its original plan into more of a community center. What do you think of these changes and how this situation has evolved?
I'm excited for the changes. I was disappointed that there was disagreement with the architects on being able to provide the type of center that the community wanted. And I just want folks to remember that we purchased two separate properties from a very generous family, by the way, the Kabaz family. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have any discussion about any type of community services there. I thought in the original discussion, there was way too much focus on the structure and not the services that were provided, and the fact that it was also housing a department. Now that we also subsequently purchased the additional 7 acres and have 14 acres, I'm thrilled to see it become a all services for all people community center. It's very exciting, and I look forward to seeing it to fruition.
Thank you. Ian?
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited about the opportunity to re-envision the senior center, what was a senior center. Now that the senior center was planned before my time in the town board, and while I was not a supporter of that design, I recognize a lot of hard work and community input went into the senior center. I think we all recognize that the senior center needs to be upgraded. We need a new senior center. They need a better place to be than they currently have. However, since my time in the town board, I've heard from a lot of people that they wanted to see a broader use out of that facility. And I think that's exactly what we have the opportunity to do right now, to bring, different ages. There's a lot of planning ahead of us. We can't say exactly what it'll be, but the idea to have a place not only for seniors and a special place for them, but also a facility that might, accommodate children, young adults, and a broader community. And I look forward to working with the town and the community on those plans.
Thank you. JP?
Well, I'm glad that actually what has happened transpired in the last few days. I guess the short answer, I'm glad it happened. I'm glad there's a pause of sense and reevaluation of the whole process. I know the YMCA is desperately looking for a new location, my understanding. I think that it can be brought together with the senior center, with the focus being on the seniors, but they, I'm sure, would like a pool, and they would like some of the other things that the YMCA could offer. It's a great time to visit that as a whole, and there's other things I'm sure that can be put there. We talk, every entity in town that comes together wants to put whatever they have in the CDCH building. It's always brought up, but I'm not sure what we're saving it for, but there must be something on the horizon for that. But at this point, I think you have to look at everything that that we have in front of us. And with that said, we just spent $1.3 million and we don't have anything for it. We need to either, I'm hoping the board's planning on trying to claw some of that money back. I don't know how successful that will be. It's very difficult to get your money back when you've given it to a corporation like that, like such. And, I think we've focused on fancy and not function for far too long. We're talking 10 plus years that process has been. And I think this is going to be the third iteration of the senior center. And the ones that are suffering most are the seniors. Now, we could add a lot of different things to it at this point, because the further we go, the more infrastructure is declining. So you could put a lot of things there. And I think we need to do that.
Okay, go ahead, Cate.
Yes, I just want to say that if you go to the senior center where it is now, the seniors are not suffering. The services that we provide, particularly nutrition program, the grab and go program, the transportation programs, and again, all of these services constitute what we do for the seniors in our town. And I'm excited that we will now open up those opportunities. We can talk about the amount of time that's gone over this, but actually I think it's fortuitous because we didn't have property. We have very, very little municipal property in our towns, and that we own in town. So when you were trying to fit that, more services into that ancient building, you really were trying to do your best there because that's all the location that we had. And again, opportunities became available, first a 7-acre parcel and then the adjoining 14-acre parcel. So as these opportunities come up, you have to look at a new plan and be able to expanding those services and house a human services department, I think is critical for our town. And I think there's an excitement in moving forward here.
Thank you. For the next question, Ian will go first. The board has proposed allowing affordable multi-use residences on lots as small as a ½ acre. What is your position on removing more of the restrictions on these accessory dwelling units or ADUs small independent apartment-like residences located on the same property as a single-family home, allowing the town to provide private property owners loans to build an ADU for affordable housing.
Well, I'm happy to have that question because this is right in my wheelhouse. I think affordable housing is the number one issue for the town and in my mind. To preserve our community and keep our community whole and healthy, we need affordable housing. So there's a few things here. ADUs, I'm a huge supporter of those, which is partially what you're referring to. And I've been an advocate for using community housing fund, which is a 0.5% tax that was approved years ago, to provide those loans like we do for first-time home buyers. So I'm a huge supporter of all of that, and also making sure that we have, proper regulations to protect, neighborhoods, but also make sure that we're allowing these people to build ADUs. I've also proposed legislation, I'm not sure if this is what you're referring to, for affordable multiple residences, which are affordable housing developments on smaller lots. That would have to be within the affordable housing overlay district, so can't be anywhere. But it's an acknowledgement that affordable housing law only lets you develop affordable housing on 3 acres or more. We don't have a lot of those lots left. So if we're going to address this problem, we need to hit it from all angles, which includes larger scale developments as we've done in the past. This affordable multiple residence legislation that would allow for up to 4 units on a single acre, which I'm a huge supporter and advocate for. I brought the legislation forward myself, and ADU construction. So I think we need to sort of use all the tools in the toolbox to solve the biggest problem that we face.
Thank you. JP?
So I think, for one example is, I don't think affordable housing will be solved by one single issue. We know that we can't build our way out of it. We understand that transportation is part of it. When you put everything in that bucket, so to speak, it's very difficult. As far as the ADUs, I support the ADUs. It's a very small amount of numbers per hamlet of how many people are allowed to have them. So I'm thinking on that one, maybe that's a case where we expand the GFA a little bit, make a little bit of an exception for that, because they are very much needed. And I think that could have been done before. And maybe now is the time to do it. Instead of talking about, I think at this point, how many cars you can park in your driveway versus how many affordable housing units we can actually have. I think that would be a more valuable conversation. I understand that I think that the settlement was 5 cars can be parked in a driveway. I got to be honest, when was the last time code enforcement wrote a parking violation on someone's private property? I don't know that that's ever happened. It seems like we talk about these things. We talk about the rental registry with 4 houses. I don't think that's been enforced either. So it's sort of I don't want to say a waste of time. Let's work on things that we can actually change and come up with. I'm not saying that that's what you do, but it should definitely be talked about as far as maybe expanding the GFA for that reason. If it's a small amount of properties, and if it can be regulated, we need to have the teeth in the law to be able to enforce it. And that's another issue. I'm happy to see the 0.5%. I think that's wonderful. And I think that we should try to fund those as best we can.
Thank you. Cate?
Well, this is one of the situations where I like to say that when you have a solution, it's the solution that can tick off as many boxes, not just one, that is the best solution. So when we reduce the gross floor area and we reduce the maximum house size, to me, that was essential because oversized homes consume more resources to build and maintain. There's additional water use, impervious surfaces, reduced natural areas, and increased energy consumption, and increases traffic, etc. And I looked at taking that use and transferring it to being able to increase density for affordable housing as a response to the luxury home market taking over our neighborhoods and the price of homes. I mean, we can't deny that this is what is part of the problem for affordable housing out here. So in looking at some solutions for environmental purposes, also turning around and being able to take amount of use and putting that into increasing density, which is what's needed to address affordable housing issues. People want to stay here. People want to age in place here, and to be able to build an ADU in your house or outside of your house is a great answer for it, but so are all the other ideas that we have. And when you're talking about multiple residences on properties now, where they used to have a single family home, you have to address the use issue and take it from someplace else. It's like a pie. There's only so much pie that can go around. So you can't just constantly take and not have it come from someplace else. And I think that's what that our focus should be on, affordable housing development in the town.
Thank you. So the next question is a broad one, and the following question was mostly about the GFA, gross floor allowance. So in case you didn't say enough about the GFA, I'm going to ask you to include it in this upcoming question, and I'm going to skip the following one since at least two of you have mentioned that already. So here comes question 5, and JP goes first. Do you feel the town is doing enough to increase affordable housing? Some say there are too many costly restrictions that are discouraging development. How do you respond to that?
Well, I don't think that you can say that, you can ever do enough. I'm not sure that that is really a box that can be checked. I think that with that being said, you're talking about transportation, you're talking about other things that I think you need to use to address your affordable housing. You have to remember something else too. Some of the jobs that we have here are limited in the amount of people that can actually fulfill them. Take the principal building inspector. They don't grow on trees, right? We know that. So if, and that person may live in another town and may very much like where they live and would like to work in East Hampton. But when, my joke is when Riverhead gets further and further away every year, it doesn't move physically, but the traffic increases. So it goes from 45 minutes to an hour to sometimes in the summer, it's an hour and a half. So if we could figure out a way to reduce that volume of traffic, and again, there's not a silver bullet for that either. Our commuter trains, I know through the school district, we have a lot of teachers that will use the commuter train. I think that's something further that has to be expanded. And there's only so far you can go without sidings and all kinds of things that maybe not be high on the MTA's list for us, maybe high on our list and we have to fight for. But I don't think it's high on the MTA's list because they're serving a broader group. But I think that the affordable housing is going to have to be attacked on a multifaceted level. And build, like I said before, building our way out of it is not going to be the answer. Increasing the GFA is not going to be the answer. It's a little bit of everything. The ADUs will help, and I think if the GFA could assist a little bit in that, on a small level, I think that would be helpful.
Thank you. Cate?
Yes, I agree that you have to tackle this from every which way that you can. We are finding a lot of folks love using the commuter connection, and we are consistently lobbying and reaching out to our government partners to put on those sidings so we can increase that time period. We've also started the ability to work remotely, have flex time work. And so you can work from home so that we can increase our working opportunities. But the question was about restrictions and that having to do with housing affordability. I don't think protecting our environment and protecting the character of our neighborhoods and housing affordability are at odds with each other. I believe you can accomplish it all at the same time. So I don't think we have restrictions that stop people from building affordable houses whatsoever. I mean, we dropped the maximum house size from 20,000 square foot to 10,000 square foot. I don't know how many folks are trying to build a 10,000 square foot house. So I think that you have to hit it from every angle. I agree, but I don't think that there's restrictions that prohibit affordable housing development that we're not consistently tackling.
Thank you. Ian?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to find somebody who's more pro affordable housing than myself, and I think that my record shows that. I've introduced legislation for a first-time home buyers program, which has been great, and the type of people who are taking advantage of that are exactly the kind of people we all want to keep right here at home. We've helped to fund the creation of over 60 units during my affordable housing units during my time on the town board, which isn't enough. There's a lot more to do. I'm an advocate for ADU construction loans. I've proposed affordable multiple residence legislation. I think JP is right, and I think Cate mentioned this too, that we do have to, transportation's part of it. We're not going to solve all of our housing needs for sure. We got to do everything we can. I've proposed legislation for workforce housing because, frankly, there's a group of people who wouldn't qualify for affordable housing who still can't afford market rate homes. And so it's a big problem, the biggest one we face. I think we need to look at seasonal housing. But the question was about, are the regulations, getting in the way? And I think that this is exactly what the town board's job is, which is to strike the balance between regulations necessary to make sure that we protect our community, but make sure that they're very precise and specific to not prevent people from being able to do what we need them to do, which is construct affordable housing. And I think if you watch town board work sessions, my approach is to do just that, to have the minimal amount of regulation so that we encourage what we need the most, which is affordable housing.
Thank you. For the next question, Kate will go first. And that will be, okay, what do you think can be done to help the town food pantries meet the overwhelming needs of the East Hampton community?
Yes, this is a very important question, especially in today's times with the current administration taking away grants. I know our food pantries will be impacted by losing partners that have grants from the federal government. So we do now support all of our food pantries. We give them grants from a town board level, and what I think is the necessary, I think it's actually, we do all we can to support them. I'm sure we'll be looking at additional support as the federal current administration takes away those federal grants. And that's why you really can't separate the national politics from the local politics, because so many people are being impacted by those national policies. But I also would ask us as community members to help out as well. But the town already does send funding to the food pantries, and I support that continuing, and we'll have to take a look at how we can increase that support.
Thank you. Ian?
Yeah, I agree with Kate. I mean, I'm happy that the town funds this. And I love these last couple of questions because it shows why I love this job so much. I truly care about affordable housing. I truly care about the fact that we have, in one of the wealthiest areas in the world, we have a huge percentage of people living below the poverty line who can't afford food. So this is very near and dear to me. And to make it even more personal, as a farmer, I don't talk about this a lot, but since you asked, we donate, our farm donates thousands of dollars to food pantries weekly. Working with the Springs Food Pantry, the Montauk Food Pantry has been absolutely wonderful. COVID saw the need increase, and it just hasn't quite subsided. Back to my work on the town board. This year I helped the East Hampton Food Pantry, we provide space for right on Town Hall campus, because the need is so great. They needed extra equipment, and I worked with them in the town to negotiate the ability for them to expand their operation to serve the people in need. So, this is a huge issue. I hear some people sort of talk, sort of scoff at it and think there's not a need out there, but I can tell you that I know firsthand that there is, and I'm proud that the town provides money to support these causes. And on a personal note, I will continue as a farm and somebody who grows food to also contribute whenever I can to the need.
Thank you. JP?
Well, I think this is about what makes our community what it is today. And I think that, taking the national politics out of it, because that's my feeling on things, we're East Hampton, and we protect our neighbors. We take care of our neighbors. We donate, whether it be our time, our money. In Ian's case, it's food, and that's a commendable thing to do. I think if we tackle it as a community and keep it that way, I think we can get through this. I mean, the school, when we went through COVID, the state did the lunch program. We had people that volunteered to stand out front for holidays and days when the schools were closed to give people enough food so that at least children were fed. And I support that. And I think that's, if you can't eat, you can't learn. So I think that's something that's very important. You have to balance your community, and you have to listen to what your community needs. And as a group, we have to solve those problems. And I think that that's exactly what we do. And I think that's exactly what we should do. And I don't know anybody that would say much different, truthfully.
Okay, thank you very much. And for the next question, Ian will go first. The Maidstone Club has been temporarily closed since 7 Wainscott property owners found bullets lodged in their houses. Do you think the town should renew the gun club's lease? And if so, what regulations would you require to allow residents and police to practice shooting but ensure the safety of homeowners?
Yeah, thank you. This is another important question. I know it's important to the people of Waynescott, and I've heard a lot from them about it. Again, this is an issue where there is litigation involved, so I'm somewhat limited on what I can say with specificity. But I think it's also important to talk about how, where we are in this process. The town attorney has advised us that it's not a matter of whether we give them a new lease. They have an option to renew their existing lease, and that is the context in which we come to this conversation. Obviously, there's litigation between the gun club and neighbors currently, but I do support renewing that lease. And with the caveat of saying that health and safety are the top priority. And so it absolutely is unacceptable for there to ever be any bullets leaving the property. Lead remediation will be a very important part of this. I also think that the size of the acreage that's leased, are they using the whole acreage, is something that we should discuss. So I am a supporter of the gun club reopening. That being said, only when it's confirmed safe, both from an immediate standpoint and also long-term soil quality. And so that's where I stand on the issue. But again, I think it's important to put it in context. They're not asking for a new gun club to open up. It's a gun club that exists, and we're going through the process of renewing their lease and making sure that all the proper restrictions are in place so they can operate safely.
Thank you. JP.
Okay, full disclosure, I was once a member many, many years ago of the Maidstone Gun Club. My father was a member. I was a junior member, then a full member. I have not been a member for probably somewhere around close to 30 years, I would say. I have a lot of friends that are members. I support the gun club. But I also, more than that, more so I support the safety. I said it, which I'm sure everybody saw the Waynescott CAC where, I think they should close the rifle range. They had more than one mishap. They recognize it, they know it, and it's time to be safe. And it was always time to be safe, but at the same time, the rifle range needs to close. I think they're okay with that. Like they said, they have a right to renew their lease. The 97 acres, could there be a better use? Well, right now it's theirs to use, and I think they should renew the lease the way that it is. There's also, not anymore, but there was close to 40 acres up on Stephen Hand's Path where the CDCH building is. That was talked about, years ago for affordable housing. That could be another exploratory measure. And a lot of people that have properties by the gun clubs, they bought by a gun club. I mean, it's been closed for 3 years, and I'm sure they love it. But at the same time, it's not going to be that way forever. And overall, I support it, but I support it with restrictions. And I think the membership is very well aware. I've spoken to a lot of members. They get it. They understand. They live here too, and they don't want lead in their water, so they want to remediate it. They want to follow industry standard, and the DEC. There's a lot of agencies that weigh in on that. So I think we should listen to them.
Thank you. And Cate.
Yes, and again, being the liaison to Waynescott, I know the fear that people live with since they believe there was a safety breach. We are looking at least that was a 30-year-long lease. Conditions in the world have completely changed. Well, we are not. They do have an option, a first option to renew. It is it is incumbent upon us to ensure that it's a safe operation, no bullets leave that club whatsoever, and that the lead is remediated as it is across the country in gun clubs. So I really don't, I'm not sure this is actually about guns, but I think it's about what happened there and the town's responsibility to ensure that there's public safety, just like we do at beaches and everywhere else, that we're taking care of public safety, the environment, and ensuring a safe operation for the people that also go there as well. So I think this has been reported in the paper all over the place, and while I can't say anything, I think what's happening and the changes that are proposed are well advertised. As far as 97 acres of land, back in the day, that was kind of a small piece of land considered back then. We don't have a lot of municipally owned land, as I said before. And I think I'm supportive, as Ian said, of taking a look at the total 97 acres, what can be carved out for the gun club, and if there's better usage in a safe way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question. The town has this one, JP will go first. The town has taken steps to become more environmentally responsible. What more do you feel needs to be done? Would you support additional wind farm initiatives? What backup plan should we have in case wind farms off our coast prove to have an adverse effect on wildlife?
Well, I think time will tell us on the wind farms that we have in place already. I'm going to tell you right now, there are certain things that I know quite a bit about, and there are certain things that I don't. I've focused my last 13 years in education pretty deeply. I'm not a windmill expert by any sense. I am a proponent of listening to all sides and taking the data, and being educated in that position. I am not an expert, and I won't sit here to tell you that I am. I have concerns over it, but I also think there's some good to it. So I think, again, to balance it, I think I'd like to see more solar initiative here locally. I'd like to see a little more. Maybe we could fund. I'm looking at it for my own house right now, so it's something that I would love to have, and I think it's something that's important. So I think that I'm not an expert in that field, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Cate?
Yeah, so addressing, the reason for clean energy is because we're addressing the climate impacts. They're burning of fossil fuels is the number one, is particularly for producing electricity, is the number one issue that's creating our atmosphere to be in danger, and treating it like kind of an open sewer the way we do with pumping all that CO2 from that production into the environment. So the answer is clean energy. The wind farm, I was an advocate for the wind farm. I know that there have been wind farms in Europe for decades out in the ocean, and it doesn't seem to have any adverse impacts. As far as us in town, there's plenty of clean energy initiatives that are going on, increasing the EV charging network is happening. We have battery storage in the town, although that has to be carefully considered and cited very well. I'm not in favor of putting it anywhere. We already have a solarized program, JP, where you
I
can
know that.
look for a discount for your house through purchasing through the town. It's got kind of Costco buying, so I'm going to promote that, take the opportunity to promote that. We don't have large open spaces for large scale solar in the town, but we have a lot of opportunities to do some community choice aggregation and look for renewable energy sources elsewhere that we can bring to town.
Thank you. Ian?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly want to see the wind farm that exists be successful. And I think Cate deserves a lot of credit on this. I think she was one of the leaders in making it happen. So I'm supportive of renewable energy. I think that, as a world, it's a direction in which we absolutely have to go. And I do think throughout the process, it's important to listen to all sides. I'm a big advocate for our traditional industries, agriculture, fishing, and it's important to hear from all sides how it's working. But the wind farm has been constructed. It's now, in everybody's interest to see it be a success. And then just generally speaking, I think that renewable energy is something the town does and should focus on, whether it's solar, wind, or any other means of reducing, greenhouse gases. I think it's a very worthy cause. I actually have a private solar system at my business that's 120 kW, which is one of the larger, private systems around. So I not only believe that this, from a government standpoint, I think as individuals, we should all do everything we can to reduce the use of greenhouse gases and contribute towards more renewable energy.
Okay, thank you. This will be the last question. So I'm just going to go straight to number 21. Aside from what we've already discussed, what other issues do you feel the board needs to address in 2026 and beyond? And
Who's
that is for Cate.
Oh, thank you. I lost track of who was going first, and this is the second debate that's happened to us. Um, so yes, I think that it is very important now to also focus on services for our community as they need to expand. As I said, as federal dollars are lost. I'm very concerned about coastal resiliency and ensuring that we have a speedy recovery after a disaster, and that's why that $600,000 grant is so important. I think we need to expand early childcare across our town. Right now, the youngest children can only be serviced in a very small new baby program at Whitmore's, at Eleanor Whitmore's, and otherwise folks have to drive out to Montauk, come back to their jobs on the west side of town, go back to pick up their children, and then come back again. I think this is these types of services to help our young families are critical for us to address, and also that idea of seeing the impacts of the climate crisis. We're seeing the southern pine beetle devastate our forests, create fire hazards. So we have to continue to address the town's impact, what the town will face from the impacts of the climate crisis.
Thank you. Ian?
Yeah, I guess this goes back to my opening statement. I think that, our job as the town board is to protect East Hampton, keep it beautiful, protect our natural resources, the environment, but also balance that with making sure we protect our community. We have a great seasonal tourist community, and that's wonderful, but to be a healthy community, we need all demographics. And so I think it's really important that we protect working people and small businesses and our traditional industries to make sure that, East Hampton retains its soul. Water quality is one of the most important issues for us, be that our sole source aquifer, or as Cate mentions, our beaches. And she's doing all sorts of work right now at Ditch Plains to protect that, because not only is that a natural resource, but it's also an economic resource. It's why, people come here, and it helps us all enjoy the special place we live in. I think we need to do more to address traffic where we can, which also involves creative solutions like creating housing so many people aren't coming and going every day. And throughout all of it, I think it's important that we balance regulations to make sure that we're protecting our community and encouraging the things that we want, but doing with as light of a hand as possible. I think we've all had experiences where we feel like there's too many regulations, and I'm very sympathetic to that. And what I don't want to do is have regulations designed to protect a particular thing actually get in the way from sort of, everyday people having a difficult time living their daily lives. And that's the balance that I will continue to try to strike as I serve the town of East Hampton.
Thank you. And JP?
Well, I think the word of the day is balance. Balance is certainly very important. And when I take that into consideration, you talk about the wind farms, and then you talk about our fishermen. And I think we need to make sure that it's working for us. I think everyone recognizes we need to do more on the renewable energy front. I am definitely aware that we have a solar program, but maybe we could beef that up. Maybe we could make that a little bit better. Maybe that's something we could focus on. I think our infrastructure, to me, is one of the things that deeply needs to be addressed in the town. Go to the landfill, go the dump, the transfer station, whatever you want to call it today. The building needs a lot of work. All of our buildings need a lot of attention. And I think that's an impact to the environment as well. Along with the things that are obvious and protecting our beauty, we have to protect our function. And we have to make sure that what we do have functions in a level that's economic, and it's also helping our environment as well. You don't want to have, have you been down to the tipping floor? It's not the prettiest place in the world. We do have to have an outlet for that. But my point is, I think if we don't maintain our infrastructure, we're not helping our environment either. And maintenance is a big part of that. And when I say that, because then when we have to build a new building, it takes money away from other things that may be more important. But if we have to keep rebuilding buildings because they just get run down, and this is not I'm not pointing this at my two opponents because they've been there a short time. This has been a 30, 40-year issue, and I just would like to see that addressed.
Okay, thank you. Now it's time for the closing statements. Cate will go first. So
Yes, thank you so much. So I want to thank the league and thank everyone for tuning in. And I think please exercise your right to vote. An informed voter is the best type of voter, but everyone please get out there and vote. I'm looking forward in my second term to expand childcare, to ensure that we are on the right path for affordability, for maintaining the character of our neighborhoods, and for ensuring that we're a community and not a commodity. These are very important issues that we're facing. And I also look forward, if with your vote, to leading with transparency, collaboration, and respect. So thank you very much for tuning in tonight, and thank the League again for your debate. And I think you've run the best debate, and that you'll not hear me say that everywhere.
Thank you. JP?
Oh, is it me or it should be Ian? Is it Ian? I'll go. I'm ready. So, okay. So, thank you to the League of Women Voters. Thank you to everyone here. Thank you to the two, Cate and Ian for being here. I think everyone serves this town with the best interest, and I think that is admirable. And I applaud you both for doing what you do. But I'm going to go back to a thought that I had the last few weeks, and we talked about when the League of Women Voters had the panel, the recent panel they had at LTV for school boards, the training wheels of democracy. And man, was that a light bulb to me. I've served for 13 years. Everything we do is transparent. My budgets, when I pass a budget, it's not mine, it's my board's budget, but when our district passes a budget, we have to get the votes of our community. We don't get just to pass it as a board. We don't have a majority on the board, pass the budget, move along. I've had 2 times in 12 years that we've had to pierce the cap. The cap's a whole different conversation, but it's something that needs to be respected because it is the law. So with that said, we have to shine a light on what we're doing. We have to be very transparent. We have to serve with integrity. We have to have the trust of our community. And I talk too much, so I got the stop sign, and I'm going to stop. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Ian?
Yeah, I just want to start by saying thank the League of Women Voters, thanks to LTV, and thanks to the voters. Most importantly, I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to serve this community in this town that I love. Some people say, I don't know how you do it, when somebody approaches you at a grocery store or a restaurant and has a complaint or a comment, but I love it. Between the farm and public service, that really is my life. And I feel very lucky to have the opportunity to serve. I think my record shows, my experience has led to common sense, practical solutions. I approach every issue with an open mind. I think I have a reputation of fairness. I'll always listen, whether you're complaining or giving a compliment. I want to hear all ideas from all different places and not be, caught in my own. I'm willing to change my mind when somebody comes with a better idea, but I'll also stand firm when I, believe strongly that my idea, is held up to all other sort of scrutiny and other ideas. So with that said, I just would be, honored to have your vote and grateful for the opportunity to continue to serve the town I love.
Thank you. I would like to thank the candidates for their informative and thought-provoking responses, and to thank all of those viewing the debate for joining us. Most importantly, don't forget to vote. You may vote at your usual voting site on Election Day, November 4th, or at an early voting site from October 25th through November 2nd. The early voting site in East Hampton is at Windmill Village, but you can vote early at other locations throughout Suffolk County. The locations and hours when they will be open for voting may be found at the Suffolk County Board of Elections website. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.
Terry, can we just mention one more thing? Because I know that this has been put out there. The District 5, I think 516, and I'm not sure what the third one is, that usually vote at the East Hampton Firehouse has been moved to the East Hampton Library. So I know I got a postcard. Hopefully everyone that votes in those districts got a postcard. But in case you didn't, make sure people know, that's all. And vote.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
We didn't know.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Good night.
Goodbye.